Lucky number 13 has arrived. Let's review Bardstown's newest release, Discovery Series number 13. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, really excited today because we've got a bottle that I've been anticipating all year, just dropped in the last week or so, Discovery Series number 13 from Bardstown. So Bardstown Bourbon Company has easily become one of my top 2 or 3 favorite brands in bourbon, if not my favorite brand overall. Big part of that is the Discovery Series. They have just been on an absolute roll. The 11 and the 12 were awesome. Just really, really well done bourbons, blends of entirely Kentucky bourbon, which this keeps up that trend. They did have older whiskey, so 11 had like 13-year-old as sort of the primary, 12 had a 14-year-old bourbon as the primary. This, the newest from Bardstown, does have some 15-year-old bourbon, little lower quantity, but it's got an interesting story to tell, and I'm interested to see if it can live up to the hype of its 2 predecessors. So, what exactly are we looking at here with Discovery Series number 13? Greatest thing about Bardstown is how transparent they are. They tell you exactly on every bottle what's in the blend, basically down to the minute details. So we know that in this bottle is a blend of 45% a Kentucky 9-year-old bourbon that has 74% corn, 18% rye, and 8% malted barley. 22% of it is a Kentucky 9-year-old with 78% corn, 10% rye, and 12% malted barley. 20% is that Kentucky 15-year-old bourbon, 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. We've been tracking that throughout the last 2 releases. That's probably a wild turkey release, maybe even distilled by Buffalo Trace, so a buff turkey as people call it. Very coveted, very old. And then 13% of it is a Kentucky 8-year-old bourbon, 70% corn, 21% rye, and 9% malted barley. To top it all off, with a little bit younger juice kind of making up this blend, they did something interesting. They double barreled it in Hungarian Oak. So I don't know a lot about Hungarian Oak, but my guess is, and what I've seen online, adds a little bit more spiciness and bold richness to your oak experience here. So while there's some younger aged whiskeys in this than maybe the previous 2 had, it's got that double barrel to keep things interesting and maybe up the oak profile here. Price wise, available for $140, which I think is one of the more fair, and it's been consistent prices on a more limited release from any distillery out there these days. Kind of stays right at that mark, and of course the last 2 have been well worth it. 140 bucks. It is pretty limited. The last 2 releases have been a lot more difficult to find as word's gotten out that people love these bottles, and I think the 13, while there may be more of it than the 12 was pretty dang limited, it still might be pretty difficult to find. I was able to go grab a bottle of this down at the tasting room in Louisville that Bardstown has. You could also probably find it right now at the distillery for the next month or so. It's going to have a national release, but I think it might be flying off shelves pretty quickly given the standard of the series right now. So, all that being said, how good is the whiskey itself? What does this Hungarian Oak double barreling experience feel like and taste like? Let's dive in. I'll give you my review, and we'll talk about the value of this bottle. So, on the nose here for the Bardstown Discovery Series number 13. Ooh, yeah. Caramel, butterscotch, big brown sugar notes. Kind of like a gooey chocolate, dark chocolate thing going on. Oak for sure, like a big whopping, heaping pile of oak on this one. Not like super, super dark, but pretty medium bodied and still kind of that sweet oak, inviting nature to it. It stays really very much in that lane though. It's kind of all that oak, brown sugar, caramel, bourbon flavors that you do want to pick up on a nose, but I'm not detecting a ton of other layers. Sometimes a double barreling can do that. It can just be oaky and rich and sweet, but not allow for some of the other complex flavors to come through. I will say there's like a ripe cherry feeling to this as well. So maybe a touch of fruit, but again, dominated by that oak and that brown sugar. I saw Bourbon Kingdom did their review of this bottle, and one of the guys mentioned Play-Doh as a note on the nose. And I don't totally disagree with him. I think it leans far more in this like brown sugar cookie batter experience, but I could see a little bit of that Play-Doh note. Kind of interesting. Not off-putting, but a little bit strange. All right, let's go in on the palate. That will tell us a ton more about this bourbon in particular. Cheers. Wow. So, one word does not apply to this bourbon, and that is subtle. It's not subtle. It's all brown sugar. I feel like that Hungarian Oak, though I have little experience with it, is just super all over this thing. Tons of butterscotch and caramel, even a maple syrup kind of feel to it, but dense, rich, that chocolate note. It really feels like I am almost drinking a liquid version of like cookie dough batter, like a chocolate chip cookie, gooiness to it. But again, almost no fruit, nothing really bright on the palate, nothing lighter. It's all that dense, heavy oak, brown sugar, caramel experience. Let's go in for a second sip, see if we can pick out some more flavors. Cheers. Very similar there. More barrel spice on that sip. A little bit of a kind of tingling, simmering, baking spice, barrel spice power to it. But again, all brown sugar, chocolate, and there is some vanilla, but it's just leaning more into that dark, rich brown sugar, caramel, even a little bit of chocolate. Really, really delicious, quite enjoyable, but more of a 3 to 4 note experience that doesn't jump around. It kind of just stays in its super sweet, oaky, rich lane. Not necessarily a bad thing, but one of the marks of a truly great whiskey is often complexity and how that sip really develops over time, and especially into the finish. So let's go in for our third sip here. I will track that finish. I will think about the whiskey overall and let you know my final verdict on the value here. Okay, final sip. Cheers. Okay. I really tried to hone in there, see if there was anything else that might be peeking through the dominant oak and brown sugar here. I feel like a slight bit of orange zest and maybe even a cantaloupe, brighter fruit note came through. Really, really nice. But again, that's at like a 10% level of flavor experience. And then the rest of the 90% is the big brown sugar, big caramel, big chocolate. What it makes me think of the most is like a chocolate chip cookie, or even like a hot chocolate with some like vanilla creamer in it. It's just in that direction. Chocolate, caramel, brown sugar. It's like a rawness, a rich depth power to it that's like raw cookie dough in a sense. That's probably because of that Hungarian Oak, if I had to guess. Just knowing what's in this blend and then thinking through what I've tasted from Bardstown, this Hungarian Oak, this double barreling experience is really powerful on this whiskey. So, what's my final verdict? What's my sense of the value here? Is it meeting that $140 expectation mark that I've got in my mind now? Is it exceeding that like the other two bottles have, the 11 and the 12? This one's very different, but it's also very, very good. I feel like the 13 lives up to the $140 price point. Is it as good as the 11 and 12? I think the only way to really determine that is to put them all head to head in a blind, which I do plan to do. So keep an eye out for that video, because that's going to really, show us what's shining through the most. This one is very distinct. If you like oak, if you like everything I've described with the big brown sugar and chocolate and gooiness, but maybe not a ton of complexity, and just accept that it's going to be this super sweet, oaky, rich profile, that's what you're going to get. At least that's what I'm getting, and it's delicious. But it's not as maybe interesting, or it's not going to intrigue you as much as maybe the 12 did, or even the 11. I do feel like the 11 was a bit more focused too on its oak and cherry. The 12 was by far the most complex. This 13 just comes out swinging with those big brown sugar notes. Really, really tasty stuff, but not super complex, probably because of that double barrel. Worth the money, I think. The Discovery Series continues to hit. I think their choice to go with the Hungarian Oak is a smart one, because it allows it to differentiate itself. You can't just keep coming out with essentially the same blend. You gotta mix it up when you call something the Discovery Series and you're trying to find new angles into this thing. It's another great bottle from Bardstown, for sure. I'm glad I spent the money on it. It's delicious. But again, more of a simple, powerful, sweet presentation with a lot of oak. So if you're an oak person, this is gonna be right up your alley. Would love to know in the comments below, have you gotten to taste this one yet, and what do you think? Just curious how it compares for you to the other Discovery Series in the lineup. And again, keep an eye out, because we are going to do a video blinding this against all the other Discovery Series that I have. While you're at it, down there in the comments, letting me know what you think. Also hit the like button on this video. That's what helps get it out to the most people. Works with the algorithm. For some reason, if you like and engage, it just goes way better in terms of getting this video out there. And then if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Bourbon Hutch. I hope to continue to do great reviews for you guys, just give you my sense of the bottles, do a lot of fun blinds, and navigate this world of whiskey with you. That's it. That's going to do it, everybody. Until I see you guys for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey. Maybe try this Discovery Series 13, and cheers.